Okay, I am assuming you can see the first slide only. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. It's working. Okay, well, that's good. Well, welcome everyone, and especially to the organizers. Thank you so much for inviting me and allowing me to present, at least for me, this really interesting work that we recently did this past year. We're an independent contract lab. We do a lot of botanical identity, as well as everything else that every other contract lab does. But I started with HPTLC, learned with both Jim and I attended the FDA classes in 1997-ish, and then some, and they expressed how important it was that TLC is basically the premier technique for botanical identification. And for me, it was something that, based on my chemistry background back in the 60s and 70s, where I did research at NYU, and we used a similar technique. So I always had an affinity for this technology, not realizing that it opens up a whole new area for scientific exploration as applied to plants, which I also love. So it's something that goes back a long way for me. And it's been evolving ever since. And today, I'd like to present to you, I'll read the title of the talk, Detection and Identification of Elderberry, Sambucus nigra, or Sambucus species, I should say.
Excuse me, Sidney.
Yes.
Excuse me, Sidney. Could you put your slides in presentation mode? It's looking smaller, and we see the totality of your slides, but the first slide isn't as big as it could be, or the slides are not as big as it could be.
Sid, you're in the presenter screen. If you switch to the other screen.
Give that a shot. Well, actually, that is part of the problem here. I'm sorry, this is not.
You need to share the different screen, I guess.
Maybe that's where it goes. Okay.
Go in the presenter mode and then share the
All right.
screen that just has the slide.
Okay. Presenter view, you're saying. Okay.
Now you're sharing the wrong screen. Share the screen with just the big slide.
Okay. That's where I was afraid of. Okay, let's see.
Just
So I have to go stop
swap the
share
slides up there. Okay.
and then share. That one. Now that was a very good catch there. That works, right? Is that better? Anybody?
Yes, that's much better. And I can't say I take credit for that. I'm going to give that to Stephen. Stephen Tully.
Well, no, that was Anthony, I think, that helped me there. But yes. Okay, so we're good now? Everything copacetic? Okay. All right. Well, back to great interruption right at the point at which I was getting into the title, The Detection and Identification of Elderberry in a Finished Good by HPTLC. And what we've done, since we do a lot of routine work, is something a little bit different, because we have an innovative approach and a demonstration of experimental design, which I believe, I mean, anybody here could maybe tell me otherwise after we talk. Am I still good, everybody? Gary?
No, I think we don't see the slide, Sidney.
It disappeared on me.
It looks like it is still sharing, but it doesn't come the slide.
I wonder if it has to do with the sleeping screen. That's why. But let me move the slide. That's not even working. Do you see the screen now?
Not yet.
I would recommend it when you're in your screen in front of you, if at the top it should say presenter view or display screen.
Well, that's where I was. Let's see.
Go back to that screen because everyone could see it, and then there should be a
At the
swap.
top it says display settings, and then you can swap presenter view with slideshow. If you have, unless you have a Mac, and then I'm not sure.
Yeah, so use the use
Swap
slideshow.
Yeah.
Oh, swap displays. Is that
Good.
is that
Yeah.
better?
There you go.
Yes.
Ah, voila. Okay.
Yay.
Oh, God. All right. let's make just feel free to interrupt me. It's okay. All right. Well, what I was saying is that this is a HPTLC allowed. Are we still good? Anybody?
Yeah.
Yes,
looks
it's good. It's good.
Okay, I thought I heard something. Okay.
And then before you continue, Sidney, if the attendees could mute their mics so we don't get
Yeah.
background noise during Sidney's presentation, please. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing, and I'm not sure if that's somebody trying to get my attention or if it's just so. Please mute your computers. Okay. All right. Well, mine is going to be a shorter presentation anyway. I'm pretty sure, unless I ramble, and then you'll have to rein me in. Okay. So what I was trying to say is that HPTLC really does present a unique, an elegant way of analyzing, especially botanicals in this case, and it gave us a lot of pause for thought to be able to come up with some way of finding elderberry in this gummy. So the goal of the analysis was to detect the presence and distinguish elderberry sambucus species in a gummy by HPTLC. Wrong way. Okay. So, and I would like to get rid of this. Okay, now I have it. So we had a sample of a gummy, and it's a finished good. It consists of approximately 17 different components, not all of which are botanicals, but you'll see what they are in a moment. We also had the opportunity with a placebo containing all the ingredients except the elderberry, and then each of the individual components were also supplied to us. So the reason this was happening is because this is a client that we were doing this identification work for, that the elderberry was not apparently seen when doing a routine analysis, and it was given to us as a problem to solve, and we went to work and we came up with these two phases of testing. One is the qualification of the elderberry fruit extract, or the blend raw material, I'm calling it, and that was by HPTLC. And then the next phase was a side-by-side fingerprint of each of the individual components, and then a stepwise reconstruction of the finished good formula, a dry mix. Now, understand that all components other than the sugar and the corn syrup are less than or equal to approximately 3%, and the elderberry itself is at approximately 1.5%, which is, in the past, whenever doing just a simple routine analysis, was almost impossible to see in any particular blends. We can see, we analyze blends all the time, and what we don't see when it's below, I don't know, and of course it depends on the botanical, with what analytes are maybe visually, chromatographically visible, are not less than 5–10%. So this was a challenge. Okay, need to get to the next slide. And nothing is, there we go. Okay, so these are the contents of the gummy itself, and we've got in this particular case, we had the gummy, the sample itself, and then we have a placebo that was created by the manufacturer, so everything but the elderberry. And then there was the finished good itself, which contained the elderberry, and then all of these particular ingredients. Okay, so simply put, we prepared the sample in a variety of different ways. In lanes, you'll see in a moment, 2 through 6, 15 through 17. I'm sure you won't remember this when you're looking at them. I'll try to remind you as we go along, but the crude raw materials, or the powdered extracts, were all in 70% ethanol. Then our intent was to extract the different samples in different ways to see what would provide the most revealing chromatograms, the most data, so that we could at least see what we could see, and then see what we could do to see if we are seeing what we think we're seeing. So in other words, we're looking at a validation, in a sense, of what we were looking at. So we had two different types of preparations with solid phase extraction, and one was specifically for the removal of, basically, well, not really the removal of sugars, but to separate the sugar, let's say a glycerin extract or other sugar containing solutions from the actual components or the ingredients. So that, and then another simple SPE method that was just there for separation or concentration purposes. The basic conditions, we use natural products method, ethyl acetate, acetic acid, formic acid, and water. And then the two images we'll be looking at and paying attention to are the natural products, PE plus PEG, and then under UV 366, and then post that derivatization, we would dip in 10% sulfuric acid, and you'll see that image as well. So this is like the pilot or the screening for what we were looking at here. What we're looking at in lane 1, which is not showing up in this particular slide, is the cyanidin 3-O-sambubioside, 5-O-glucoside, one compound that's supposedly more unique to Sambucus nigra. Not sure how unique that is, but it is a marker. Then in lanes 2, 3, 4, we have the Sambucus nigra flower, fruit, and then the fruit again. One is the botanical reference material, and then lane 4 is the powdered extract, another reference material. Could you please mute your microphones, please? Thank you. So next, in lanes 5 and 6, that's another pair, which is the blend raw material. So you can see how with the high quality of that, I'm just kidding, because the quality of that was very poor, and we knew we had our hands full when we're thinking about what we're trying to accomplish here, which was to identify this this material in the finished good, which is something that we see here in lane 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 11, 12, 13, 14. Now 7, 8, if you don't remember, 7, 8, 11, and 12 are all extracted with the solid phase extraction for removing sugars, and then 9, 10, and 13, 14. So there are pairs, and they were applied in different volumes. So this is just simply a screen so we can try to see which one of these extraction methods might produce the best result. And of course, if you look here closely at about 0.25 RF, you can see in 11, 12, 13, 14, well, that of course is, we are seeing some evidence of potentially the elderberry, whereas we're not seeing in the placebo at any evidence of that, and it's probably root, although I don't know for sure. Then we have lanes 15, 16, 17, 3 different other species, and then 18 is another reference standard. So here, the same image, yes, same plate, derivatized in sulfuric acid after the polyethylene glycol. Same plate, but not really much more information given here, except there are differences. It didn't really provide us very much additional information. Now, what we did at this point, now I'm not able to see what, oh, there it is. Okay, so this is phase 2, plate 1, where we did simply a run. Let's see if I go to the next slide, you can see what we're looking at here. So here we're looking at elderberry USP. In lane 2, we have the actual crude raw, not the crude raw material, the powdered extract that actually went into this gummy, and then each of the individual components from lane 3 to lane 16 prepared in the original concentration that they should be seen in the gummy itself. So what you'll notice is, so lanes 1 and 2, we can see something there, which are the crude, the raw materials. 1 is the reference material, 2 is the actual extract in question. And then in lanes 5, 11, 12, and 15 are the only ones that actually will add any data to our final experiment. And that was what we were looking for. So what should we expect? So components with significant impact were ascorbic acid in lane 5, the color fruit in lane 11, and then a masking agent in lane 12, and of course, melatonin in lane 15. And there again are the ingredients and what we have done to at least see what the contribution of each of those is. Now, the next phase, or the next part of this experiment and the experimental design, we had no idea what to expect. We just were not really fully encouraged by all the data that we've seen so far, and it was a little challenging to actually see that we see something. And what we're looking at here is the next plate is the actual addition of each component to the previous component. So start off with the actual blend raw material, the powdered extract. Then to that we added the sugar, then to that the corn syrup. So in lane 5 we have lanes 2 through 4 plus 5, and on and on. So you can see where the vitamin C before in lane 5 we were able to visualize it. You see the change that we saw before, and then in lane 11 we have another change, and I think it was in lane 12, or I know for sure in melatonin, and 16. Or yeah, so it was 11 and then possibly 16. Now in lane 17, we have the gummy that we built, and the final gummy, and then the placebo in lane 18. What's interesting here, let's see if the next slide demonstrates that. Now it's not quite as I had to search for the images. As many of you may know, having done TLC and going into the data and into Vision Cats, in our case, we use Vision Cats, the CAMAG equipment and the software. And what you'll see is, if I can get my cursor, okay, what you see is some semblance of, or resemblance or carryover from the powdered extract. And in these images, what I was getting at before is that it might seem the best when we look at it in Vision Cats, and then every time we, I guess in a sense, copy it or move it to a different I don't know, digital format, it loses something. But what we have seen and what we were able to conclude based on what we see here, what we built, is that the gummy itself, given all the right conditions, when we are able to identify clearly the origin of the actual crude, the raw material or the ingredient in question, it shows up in the gummy, it's absent in the placebo. That for me was a memorable moment, because for us, it was evidence that we could actually create an experiment to demonstrate the presence of this material. And I found that extremely exciting, knowing that this method has such potential and is so elegant in the way it can be used, and it's not always necessary to have the highest technology to achieve the same goal, although I'm sure if we did this by any number of other methods and techniques, it could probably have been done. It may have taken a couple of years or so to get it done, and it would have been a whole lot more expensive. But here with this method, this was, to me, magical, and I I applaud Svet for the actual originating this technique back in 1906, I believe. I think that's where the origin, but I have always looked at him as one of the originators for the actual application of this to plant drug analysis. So in conclusion, the elderberry material has characteristics of a customized extract derived from elderberry or Sambuca species. In phase 2, per the analysis described, there's adequate evidence with specificity between the dry mix and the finished good and the placebo to demonstrate that elderberry fruit is present in this particular gummy. And where it goes, it'd be nice to be able to validate that and detection of elderberry fruit in this gummy, following obvious guidelines, ICH, USP, etc. But it's just amazing, I think, what we're able to do with such simplicity. And I hope that you all have gotten something from this. And I think I know what's happening here. I placed my keyboard in the wrong place. And here we are. I'm done. Okay. Thank you very much.